In 1994, a woman named Patricia sat down at a kitchen table in suburban Ohio and signed the paperwork for her first credit card. The limit was $1,500. The interest rate was 19.8%. The representative from the bank had actually driven to her house, to hand her the card in person, because that is how badly the banks wanted her business. Patricia was 24 years old, working her first real job, and the card felt like a safety net, just for emergencies, just in case. By 1999, Patricia had 4 cards. Combined limit, just over $18,000. Combined balance, just under $16,000. She was making minimum payments on all of them, which meant she was paying roughly $320 a month and watching the balances barely move. She was not a reckless spender. She had not gone on shopping sprees or taken lavish vacations on borrowed money. The debt had accumulated the way debt almost always accumulates for people like Patricia, gradually, across 100 small decisions that each felt reasonable in the moment. A car repair here, a medical copay there, a flight home for a family emergency, a few months where the grocery bill just needed a little help. Patricia spent the next 11 years paying off that debt. She was 35 before she had a clean slate. She started investing at 35 instead of 24. That 11-year gap at 7% average annual returns cost her approximately $380,000 in retirement wealth, not because she was bad with money, because she was slightly underprepared for how debt actually works in a system that is extraordinarily well designed to keep her underprepared. My name is Susan, and I want to talk about something that most financial content skips over because it is uncomfortable and not particularly inspiring. Debt. Not the splashy kind, not the villain kind where someone buys a boat they cannot afford. The quiet, ordinary, almost invisible kind that sits in the lives of millions of people who are doing their best, who are working hard, who genuinely believe they are making responsible choices, and that is silently destroying the retirement they are trying to build. If you are carrying any consumer debt right now, credit cards, personal loans, car payments, medical debt, buy now, pay later balances, this video is about the math that never gets shown to you clearly, the math that explains why the minimum payment is not a strategy, why the interest rate is not just a number on a statement, why the system is structured exactly the way it is, and what you can actually do about it. Let me start with a story from ancient Rome because the mechanics of lending money at interest have not changed meaningfully in 2,000 years, and understanding the history makes the present a lot less surprising. In the Roman Republic, there was a practice called usury, lending money at interest, and it was controversial from the beginning. Roman law actually banned interest on loans between citizens at various points, because Roman society understood intuitively what modern research has confirmed. Compound interest creates a one-way transfer of wealth from borrowers to lenders that, left unchecked, concentrates resources at the top and hollows out the middle. The philosopher Plutarch wrote about how moneylenders in Rome would extend credit to struggling farmers at rates that sounded manageable in the short term but were mathematically impossible to escape. The farmer borrows to buy seed after a bad harvest. The interest compounds. The next harvest is average but not enough to pay the debt plus the interest. He borrows more to cover the shortfall. Now the debt is larger and the interest on that larger debt is higher. Within a few cycles, the farmer does not own the farm anymore. The lender does. The farmer now works the same land he used to own, paying rent to the person who used to be his creditor. Plutarch was writing about this in the 1st century. The mechanism he described is identical to the credit card cycle that Patricia was trapped in for 11 years. The names have changed, the togas are gone, the math is exactly the same. Here's the thing about compound interest that nobody explains clearly enough. You've probably heard it described as magical when it works in your favor in an investment account. What almost nobody tells you with equal clarity is that it is equally powerful and equally relentless when it works against you in a debt account. The difference between saving and debt is not just direction, it's psychology. When compound interest works for you, you feel nothing in the short term. You need 30 years of patience to experience the payoff. Compound interest working against you feels like nothing too in the short term. The minimum payment feels manageable, the balance barely moves, but the payoff on the negative side comes in the form of years of your financial life eaten alive. Let me give you the number that should be tattooed somewhere visible. If you carry a $5,000 balance on a credit card with a 24% interest rate, which is now close to the average in the United States in 2026, and you make only the minimum payment each month, it will take you approximately 30 years to pay off that $5,000. You will pay roughly $14,000 in interest alone. The $5,000 you borrowed will cost you $19,000. And the minimum payment, which felt like the responsible thing to do because you were paying something, was designed by the bank to maximize the total amount of interest you pay over the longest possible period. The minimum payment is not a debt repayment strategy, it is a wealth transfer mechanism. Most people know in the abstract that credit card interest is bad. What most people have never done is sit with the specific math of their specific debt and calculate what it's actually costing them, not the monthly payment, the total cost, and then compare that total cost to what the same money would be worth if it were invested instead. This is the concept I call the debt shadow. Every dollar you pay in consumer interest is not just a dollar spent, it's a dollar that will never compound for you. It's a dollar that will never become $2 in 7 years. It's a dollar that will never help fund your retirement. The debt shadow is the retirement wealth that never gets built because the money is being redirected to someone else's balance sheet. Patricia's debt shadow was $380,000. That's what 11 years of delayed investing cost her. Not the debt itself, the opportunity cost of the money she could not invest while she was paying off the debt. Now, let me introduce you to two people to make this concrete. We'll call them Rachel and Diane. Both are 27 years old. Both earn $60,000 a year. Rachel has $8,000 in credit card debt at average interest rate of 22%. She's making minimum payments and also putting $200 a month into her 401k to get the company match. She feels like she's doing the right things. Diane is in the exact same position as Rachel, same income, same age, but she has no credit card debt. She's been contributing $600 a month to her retirement accounts since she started working. By 40, assuming 7% average returns, Diane has approximately $155,000 invested. Rachel, who spent several years with capital trapped in high-interest debt instead of growing in the market, has approximately $108,000. Same income, same intentions, same work ethic. The $47,000 gap is entirely explained by the cost of carrying high-interest debt during the early compounding years, when invested money has the longest runway to grow. This is why the order of operations matters so much. And here is the framework that actually works. Think of interest rates as a threshold. Any debt charging you more than 7%, roughly the long-term inflation-adjusted return of the stock market, is a guaranteed negative investment. Paying it off is the equivalent of earning that interest rate, risk-free, guaranteed on every dollar you pay down. A credit card at 24% interest is a guaranteed 24% return on every dollar you use to pay it down. There is no investment in the world that offers you a guaranteed 24% return. Paying off high-interest debt first is mathematically the highest return decision available to most people. The nuance is that low-interest debt, a mortgage at 4%, a student loan at 3.5%, operates differently. The market's long-term average return is higher than those rates, which means investing while carrying that debt is not obviously wrong. But consumer debt almost universally charges rates above the market's expected return. Carrying that debt while contributing to investments beyond the employer match is, in most cases, mathematically backwards. You are growing money at 7% in your 401k while shrinking money at 22% on your credit card. The net math is negative. I want to pause here and say something important. Consumer debt is not a character flaw. The system that produces it is deliberately designed to be difficult to escape. The minimum payment structure, the promotional rates that expire, the buy now, pay later programs at every checkout, the credit card rewards that make spending feel like earning, the culture of normalizing debt as a standard part of adult life. None of this happened accidentally. These are products built by some of the most sophisticated financial engineers in the world, optimized for one outcome: keeping you in debt as long as possible at the highest rate you will tolerate. Understanding this is not about feeling victimized. It is about being calibrated. You are not fighting a bad habit. You are fighting a system. And you can win, but you need a strategy as deliberate as the system working against you. Here's the debt elimination framework. First, list every debt you have with 3 columns: the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Seeing them all on one page is clarifying in a way that checking individual statements never is. You cannot fight what you cannot see clearly. Second, rank them by interest rate, highest to lowest. This is the avalanche method, and it is mathematically optimal. Pay minimums on everything and throw every extra dollar at the highest rate debt first. When that one's gone, roll its entire payment amount to the next highest rate. The payments accelerate as you go. Some people prefer the snowball method, paying off the smallest balance first, because the early wins build momentum. The best strategy is the one you'll actually stick to. Third, find extra payment capacity. Not by squeezing your food budget until you give up. Look at the bigger categories: housing, transportation, forgotten subscriptions. Can you take on a roommate for a year? Can you pick up side income for the duration of the payoff? Even $200 extra per month toward a $5,000 credit card at 24% cuts the payoff time dramatically. Fourth, stop the bleeding. Every new dollar you add to high-interest debt while trying to pay it off extends the timeline. Build a small cash buffer, even $1,000, so the next unexpected expense does not go back on the card. The reason most people do not escape debt is not that they pay it down and then rebuild it. It's because the underlying cash flow problem was never addressed. Now let me talk about something most debt content ignores: the psychological cost of carrying debt. Research consistently shows that people carrying consumer debt report higher levels of chronic stress, worse sleep quality, more relationship conflict around money, and lower financial confidence even when controlling for income level. Debt is not just a number on a statement, it's a low-grade psychological weight that affects decision-making, risk tolerance, and the ability to think clearly about money. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the scarcity mindset. When people feel financially constrained, their attention tunnels toward the immediate problem, making this month's payment, and away from longer-term thinking. The scarcity mindset creates a cruel irony. The people most in need of good long-term financial thinking are the least able to access it because the immediate pressure of debt is consuming their mental resources. This is one more reason why eliminating high-interest debt quickly is not just mathematically smart, it's psychologically liberating. The day Patricia made her last credit card payment, she didn't just improve her balance sheet, she got her mental bandwidth back. Let me give you one final scenario to make the long-term stakes undeniable. Meet 2 sisters. We'll call them Grace and Olivia. Both are 30, both earn $75,000, both want to retire at 65. Grace is carrying $12,000 in credit card debt at an average rate of 21%. She's making minimum payments and contributing 8% to her 401k. She plans to deal with the debt soon. Olivia aggressively eliminated her credit card debt by 28 by living with roommates for 2 years after college and directing the savings toward payoff. She had zero consumer debt at 30 and contributes 15% to her 401k. Olivia, debt-free and contributing 15% from age 28, will have approximately $2.1 million at 65. Grace, dragging debt through her 30s and contributing less as a result, will have approximately $1.3 million. Same family, same education, same income trajectory, same decades of work. An $800,000 gap explained almost entirely by 2 years of aggressive decisions Olivia made at 26 and 27. The debt shadow is $800,000. This is not theoretical, this is arithmetic. Here's what to do with this. First, calculate your own debt shadow. Take the total interest you will pay on your current debts and calculate what that same money would be worth invested over the same period at 7%. That number is the retirement wealth your debt is costing you. Look at that number. Let it be real. Second, commit to the order of operations. Always capture the employer match. That's free money. But beyond the match, extra dollars belong on the highest rate debt until it's gone. This is the highest return investment available to most people, and it's completely overlooked. Third, find extra payment capacity. Not by squeezing your food budget until you give up. Look at the bigger categories: housing, transportation, forgotten subscriptions. Can you take on a roommate for a year? Can you pick up side income for the duration of the payoff? Even $200 extra per month toward a $5,000 credit card at 24% cuts the payoff time dramatically. Patricia rebuilt. She got the debt gone, started investing seriously, and reached retirement with enough that she didn't have to spend her 70s in financial panic. But she'll tell you that the conversation she wishes someone had forced her to have at 24 was not about budgeting, it was about the math she had never been shown. The debt shadow. The true cost, the decade she could have been building instead of digging. Nobody showed her the number, so she didn't feel the urgency, so she made minimum payments, so the banks got rich and her retirement got smaller. You've seen the number now. What you do with it is up to you. Boring index funds, automatic contributions, and zero high-interest debt will build more lasting wealth than any amount of income ever will on its own.